Hello everybody, welcome back to Vidstorical Films, and I just want to give you guys a small little video, just not only to give updates on my channel, but I wanted to use this time to kind of celebrate the legacy of Robert F. Kennedy. Today is the anniversary of his death, June 6th, and I just want to show you guys some of my favorite items that I have in this collection, as well as just to show you photographs of various magazines I have, just to show the last of his day, and also using this opportunity just to celebrate his legacy and why we should always remember him. Of course, you notice my first ensemble, what I'm wearing. Of course, not really matching Bobby Kennedy, but just an up shirt, Carl and Ellie Fredrickson, but that's beside the point. One of the first things I like to show you, of course, is an original 1968 Kennedy will win hat. There's a famous picture that you've seen of this hat actually in Bobby Kennedy's blood. I'm going to put it right here. And just to give you guys a little briefity of who Bobby Kennedy was. He was the brother of John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1963. Robert F. Kennedy was running for president in 1968.
I am announcing today my candidacy for the presidency of the United States. I do not run for the presidency merely to oppose any man, but to propose new policies.
He announced his presidency in March of 1968, a little later than the other candidates, but he thought that he could really make a change. The world was on the brink of destruction, a lot in the news, headlines, always Vietnam being in the news, race riots, everything. So Bobby thought he would make a contribution with his presidential campaign, as well as if he would have won. So he had come to Los Angeles to do a speech at the Slane Ambassador Hotel, which is on Wilshire in Koreatown, actually up the street from the Bullock's Wilshire department store. And he actually won California, which was great because he had lost a previous state, the first Kennedy to do so. So he was really hung-ho on trying to win California. Now, his competitors, of course, was EugenmcCarthy, as well as huberthumphrey. And he won California, and of course California back then was a huge win. But of course, by midnight, he was announced the winner, which was fantastic. He was scheduled to have gone to do a press conference to answer a couple more questions by the end of the night. He was actually supposed to have exited a specific path, but he was eventually led to the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel, which he was shot by a man named Sirhan, who is currently in jail. And the gracious man named Juan Romero was actually shaking hands with Bobby Kennedy and just trying to try to keep him alive, of course. And he was having him hold a rosary in his hand, and one of the last words before Bobby Kennedy actually was heard saying was, "Is everybody okay?" And that is what I always like to emphasize with the legacy of Bobby Kennedy, because after the assassination of his brother, he really changed as a human being. He questioned life itself. He wondered, why do good people get taken away from us when they had so much potential? This really influenced him to want to make a difference, and that is why his assassination, of course, hit the country pretty brutally, because of course Martin Luther King Jr. had recently been assassinated 2 months prior. And he, of course, connected to the audience who were rioting, basically, because of Martin Luther King's death. And he had reached out to this group of people who were mostly African Americans of the area, he had reached out and said that he also he understood their pain because, of course, a white man shot a black man, Martin Luther King, and Robert F. Kennedy made the connection to them that he also lost somebody very dear to him, and a white man also shot him.
For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and distrust of the injustice of such an act against all white people, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed, but he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States. We have to make an effort to understand, to get beyond or go beyond these rather difficult times.
He was able to calm the storm, and they were able to connect with his kind words on why they shouldn't be rioting, because that in the end is not going to solve the root of the problem. So with his death came a kind of loss, a kind of people just didn't believe in the government anymore, that their voice mattered, which also disillusioned a lot of people who were thinking of going into politics at the time, including John Ritter, who he was inspired by Bobby Kennedy but kind of got disillusioned of it, as well as Jerry Springer. He also was heavily inspired by Bobby Kennedy, but because of his death, it kind of killed their momentum to go along with it as well. So Bobby Kennedy is one of my heroes, always wanting to think of how to improve everybody's situation, to always just relate to your fellow man, and of course to connect with all kinds of different people and trying to be an inspiration, to try to always improve the lives of others as well as yourself with true kindness and just overall empathy towards your fellow human man. And so I feel Bobby Kennedy, he has had a lot of, Bobby Kennedy has inspired many people even to this day. I highly recommend the Bobby Kennedy for President documentary on Netflix. And of course, with where he was shot at the Ambassador Hotel, they made a school on the grounds where it was, the Robert F. Kennedy School that serves the community of Koreatown. And they also put a beautiful little park area in front of it with his mural and a couple of quotes to demonstrate his message, including from Cesar Chavez and his brother Edward M. Kennedy. But I'm going to take this time a little bit to show you some of the items that I have in my collection. Please let me know in the comments if you want me to show the rest of my collection as well, because I can do that too. Well, the first thing I'm going to show you guys is, of course, I showed you the hat. I'm going to show you a pin that I'm wearing. Kennedy for President in 1968. Now, all of these items I'm going to show you is also original. I'm a huge Bobby Kennedy fan and collector. I hopefully one day can get his autograph. Here I'm just going to give you guys just a sample of some of the things that I have. Here we have, of course, in memory of Bobby Kennedy, 1925-1968. They handed out a bunch of these kind of items to celebrate his legacy. That one was definitely one of my favorites that I got. In the same vein, here's a little funeral card showing Bobby Kennedy. If you've attended, they handed you this funeral card. I'm just going to read you what's on the back here. I can show you also the back of this card. It says, "We have loved him during life. Let us not forget him in death, until we have brought him through our prayers to the house of God. Dear God, please take care of your servant, Robert Francis Kennedy. Lord, hear the prayers we offer you for the soul of your servant, Robert. bless him with the peace which this world cannot give, and the happiness shared by those you love, and by whom you are loved in return. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. Very beautiful, right? Of course, he was Catholic. Here's another commemoration that came out actually during the 70s. I have some unused stamps of Bobby Kennedy. Beautiful for a frame or just to have it in a curio cabinet like I have it. During the campaign, they gave a lot of items to show people. People are trying to promote their candidate. Of course, they want to become president. So Bobby Kennedy was no exception. They had a bunch of flyers, pieces of papers, advertisement, and of course, campaign buttons. And even if it just says Kennedy, I want it. It's part of my collection. I love buying buttons. Some are more valuable than others for some reason. I don't know the science behind that, but I'm trying to collect as much as you can. So if you guys know of anywhere, also please let me know. Here's actually one of my favorite buttons. It says, "Let's lower the voting age to 10." And of course, by this time, the voting age was still 21, not 18. They actually changed it because they criticized the government. They were able to send young men as young as 18 to fight, so why are they not able to vote? So of course that changed the law to that. But it's still a funny little thing. Of course 10-year-olds can't vote for president, of course. This is also one of my favorite pins. Socket 2 on Bobby. The reason why I love this pin a lot is because it references the comedy show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, which they keep saying, "Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me." So, of course, they put it on Bobby, and they were a huge advocate of Bobby Kennedy as well. Here's a beautiful little flag, original 1960s. It actually came in a little pack, but the way I get some of my items through eBay, they just auction it with other random little things, and this was one of them, but I saw somebody else selling it like in a more complete pack, so maybe in the future I'll get it again. But just to show you guys again, destined to become president. Now if only. And of course, if Bobby became president, there wouldn't have been Watergate, of course, right? And of course, here's another odd campaign item that they gave. A nail file. I'm not going to use this, but I think it's kind of unique to have it. I'm going to put that with everything else. Of course, this is one item. Bobby Kennedy for President little cup, which I actually was, when I was rewatching Mad Men, I saw Peggy Olson have this cup, so I was pretty excited to see that. And here's another little oddity that also, even when he died, they gave out a lot of odd things. This was one of them. Also, in memory of we mourn our loss. And of course, it's a little switch. It's a little tiny knife that's it's kind of hard to pop out because it's just jammed in there. But there's a little blade. Oh, here, there's a little indentation. You can take it out. So just a tiny little blade. Pocket knife. There's that. And then two of some of my other favorite pins. One of them, they transformed the peace sign to make it look like RFK. And then another one, Viva Kennedy. I really wanted this one because during his run as senator, because he won the Senate seat in New York, he was reached out by the team of Cesar Chavez when he was boycotting grapes in California and fighting for migrant workers' rights. And so Bobby Kennedy went out because he believed in he was interested in his cause, and he went out and he prayed with Cesar Chavez as well as bringing more attention to the cause. And of course, they're both Catholic, so they're able to have that background as well. I think another reason why I always connected to Bobby Kennedy was he did connect a lot to Mexican people as well as Black people, and a lot of candidates you didn't see that often, at least in the news, and he was an advocate to fighting for anybody who had a cause they needed to be fought. I'm going to show you guys a couple of magazines. One of them was actually given to, or it was given out when Bobby Kennedy was running for president. If you see there, sorry about the little glare. It's actually from an artist, Roy Lichtenstein. I'm sorry since I'm mispronouncing that. He was around the same realm as Andy Warhol, who made all these pop art kind of art pieces with dots. And so not only this is a really cool cover for Time magazine, it's also a great piece of advertisement to show Bobby Kennedy as this kind of superhero type of guy, because this literally looks like from a comic book. So not only they're advertising Bobby Kennedy as this candidate, but as well as having these kind of superhero type tendencies. I think that's what was his messaging with that. And of course, unfortunately, on the other side I have is Bobby Kennedy's, the Time magazine issue when he was assassinated. It was issued there June 14, 1968. So of course about a week after he died. And what I find really poignant about this painting is just the sad look of on his face. Bobby Kennedy, his face looked like he was a sad man all the time, of course, with the way his eyebrows are shaped and his eyelids, but he had just a deep look in his eye that you knew that you were able to instantly connect with him. And then on that same day actually released is the issue celebrating Bobby Kennedy from his assassination, Life magazine. This is actually him with his dog Freckles walking on the beach. You notice he has no shoes. It was actually pretty controversial at the time, just like with his hair. People kept telling him he needed a haircut. There's this really funny clip where there's a reporter or somebody asked Bobby Kennedy a question, and they tell him that he needed a haircut, and then Bobby Kennedy, of course, tells him that he already got a haircut.
I think this is a great country, and I think we've accomplished. Get a haircut. I'm just at the pitch of my campaign speech, and I look around and it says, "Get a haircut." I got a haircut.
Which makes the crowd laugh. And of course, Bobby Kennedy had that famous swoosh hair on his eyebrow, which of course is iconic. But in this issue, they of course talk about the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, as well as just talking about the legacy of his family. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures from one of the articles that I find very touching. Here is a photograph of him right before his famous speech in the Ambassador Hotel kitchen, shaking hands with the kitchen workers right there. And of course, on the next page is showing the famous picture of Juan Ramiro holding Bobby Kennedy in his arms. It was so dark in there that in order to be able to get the shot lit, the cameraman had to use his own flash in order to make some kind of lighting to make that shot. And of course, this is his wife, Ethel Kennedy, going over Bobby. Truly touching and sad about this. And of course, there's just photos of them taking Bobby onto the stretcher, of course. And of course, this is just a sad day, because people really were trying to figure out. Basically, this erupted into another conspiracy theory, which I'm not going to go in detail here, but people say that Sir Hans Sirhan didn't do it. A lot of people said they did. They saw him. They saw other people. It's just a mess. If you're going, it's another rabbit hole to go into. But here are some photos of the actual funeral. Some of the pictures that I showed you, including his card. If you arrived at his funeral, Teddy Kennedy right there. And he's the one that gave his eulogy, and he's literally trembling in pulling back his tears. Of course, witnessing his brother, another of his brothers, get killed. Because the article that they show in the magazine, it just shows a briefity of some of Bobby Kennedy's accomplishments and his life. And of course, he was the Attorney General under his brother John F. Kennedy, which of course, who can you trust more than family? So that's why Bobby was put in with his brother John. But another lesser known tragedy that happened to Teddy was he actually was in a plane crash, which a lot of people thought he was actually going to die from, but he luckily survived it. And of course, here's a precious photo of Bobby Kennedy with his children, as well as his niece and nephew as well. John, who also unfortunately died of a plane accident. And here's Bobby Kennedy. Of course, he was really big on playing sports, specifically touch football. That was his favorite. And all of his family would be rigorous on winning against each other. But that, of course, shows more of Bobby's tenacity as well, always wanting to win and please people. But just to show you again the poignant image of Bobby with his dog Freckles. Truly is a sad sight to see, because you know that what is inevitable after that photograph there. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you guys was some original newspapers of when Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. I'm still trying to get other ones as well, just because I do like to collect all kinds of things from Bobby. I missed out on one person's, but if you guys know of any great or a place to check them out, please tell me about it. So in this lot that I got from eBay, it's just some clippings of the day when he was assassinated as well as afterwards. So here's just a photograph. Of course, you saw the famous Juan Romero one, straddling Bobby until the paramedics came, of course. And then here is the funeral procession of Bobby Kennedy. Most of these are original clippings, so of course, Ethel Kennedy funeral. Here is a cute picture of Bobby in color, cut from a magazine as well. I mean, a newspaper. And this is the day, of course, regards to the shooting with the struggle. And then here are more full-on articles. Here's one about the sunset came so soon. The Chicago Times, June 9th. This is just a special commemorative article about Bobby Kennedy and everything. This shows a lot of nice pictures of him inside, actually. Here's a couple from him. All of this is Bobby. He looks a lot like one of his brothers. But here is just a couple of articles talking about how he died and the chronology of everything. And of course, there was a famous thing that I noticed, that a lot of people at the time, specifically like Mexicans or Catholics or a lot of black people, they had a photo of John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Bobby Kennedy in their house, and this shows exactly that. So just a little beautiful article talking about the legacy of Bobby right there. And then here, of course, is another one, a front page of Bobby. Senator Kennedy's critical condition. So this is right before he died, June 5th. Some of these are during, before, and after. And here's another one talking about how he picked up from after John. This is June 6th, so that's the day that he died. And then, of course, last but not least, we have this one where it talks about the actual death of his assassination right here, with Ethel, of course, hollering to the camera, and with Bobby, of course, right there, just looking further. Picture of Jackie down there as well. But just some of the taste of some of the things that I collect. Not only that, I collect a whole lot of original posters of the campaign. I have a huge one that could be framed for a big wall, and also a lot of smaller campaign posters. I tend to only get original ones because if I got one reproduction one, but that's more for I could put that in garage, for example. But if I have the actual original one, those are supposed to be for frames. I collect anything as small as a coin or a pin to as large as an actual poster. I'm hoping to get his autograph. That's one of like a pinnacle item to have nicely framed, as well as a bust of his head. I've seen some people sell those online for a hefty price, but those are kind of the higher end things. But I'm more interested in the smaller end things, like the actual campaign stuff, clippings of newspapers, as well as campaign items like this specifically. I'm also trying to collect things when he was running for Senate as well. I have a couple of things of that. But yeah, please let me know if you guys are interested. I can make a full-on video just talking about my complete Bobby Kennedy collection and talking about how much he means to me, as well as how much he inspires me every day. I can also show you guys, or at least do like a small video in the future going to the actual memorial park itself. It is in a kind of weird area of Koreatown, but I can do my best at least showing you guys what they did to that area, because standing there, it is a little haunting. I just wish one day there could be an event or something to actually show the actual place itself where he was unfortunately assassinated. They converted the ballroom area to a library, and there's a huge mural of it, so I'm glad they converted that to something much more positive. But on a lighter note, thank you guys for finally helping me reach to 1,000 subscribers. I cannot believe that I finally reached that feat, and the only way I was able to do it because of all of you guys' help, as well as watching, commenting, sharing your video. I appreciate every single one of you. Let me know if you guys want me to do like some kind of Q&A or something. That's something I can, of course, do for you guys, as well as a special videos showing more of my collection. I have so much more to show, so let me know if you guys want to see that. As far as my Vidstorical reviews for the DVDs portion, I am still wanting to finish the last one I have of that, of the Zorro collection, so that's also in the works. I am currently editing a video about a mini history as well tour of the Bullocks-Wilshire building. I went to a Jean Harlow event, so that's currently being edited as we speak. And then for my History Street Smarts, I know I get the most positive feedback for those, and those do take me the longest to complete, so please bear with me with that. I recently got a new job, so it's been kind of difficult to juggle both. But I am currently editing and finishing my research for the next one. I'll just give you guys, it is for Glen Oaks Boulevard, so street within the valley. And then I plan to, of course, flip back and forth to Hollywood as well as back to Valley. So please don't think I'm neglecting you guys about the History Street Smarts. It's just those take the longest to do, and I have so much footage for different ideas of videos. I love doing it. I love being able to edit and to be able to personally craft every single one of those for you guys. And of course I want to keep pumping out content, but of course with the job it's kind of difficult to manage both. But please be patient. Let me know if you guys prefer the longer form content versus shorter ones. I can also try to mix that in there as well. I try to mix it up a little bit with the content that I make for you guys, all relating and going under the umbrella of history in media itself. So I just wanted to thank you again for following me in this journey. And let me know, please continue giving me feedback as well. And last but not least, of course, let us not forget the legacy of Bobby Kennedy. We feel his presence all the time with his contributions to not only politics, but history and pop culture itself. Thank you, Bobby, for, of course, your contribution to this world. And thank you for what you were trying to do to better our country as a whole. And of course, I want to thank everybody here watching today. Thank you so much for being subscribed and following Vidstorical Films. Please share with your friends. If you're not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe today. There's a button underneath, of course. Put a like button, comment, and keep giving me suggestions because I love reading all of your guys' comments. So thank you so much for everything you do for me, and have a wonderful day.